Hello, people of the world watching car reviews on the internet. Welcome to this, the 2025 Chevrolet Trax RS. This is now the cheapest Chevy product that they make, except it's kind of not even really a Chevy. Then today I'm gonna get up in the air, we're gonna nerd out in the tech specs, see how it is constructed, and then go give it whatever bean it has. This nitro yellow color is wild. It has like a dark green flop to it in the right light with a little bit of pearl. Man, talk about a simple car. Geez, whoa, that is huge for only being 1200 cc's. I bet I could get my fist in it. No, not quite. Out back, the Chevrolet Trax utilizes a simple torsion beam rear suspension, all steel in construction. This is rubber undercoated. That's neat. I think this is the first vehicle I've reviewed in like 5 years that it's actually rubber undercoated on the rear suspension. Twin tube dampers brought to you by in-house blend SNT, Sarah and Tune. I made the dampers. It's Sarah and Tune Motive. Because the Chevy Trailblazer exists, which you can get in all-wheel drive, there is no option for all-wheel drive on the Chevy Trax. The second generation Chevy Trax is built on GM's VSSF platform, shared with its similar Buick sibling, and essentially this is what replaced the Chevy Cruze in the model lineup. And this 2RS model you see here weighs in at 3,030 pounds. Curious to see what this little turbo 3-banger is working with for a mid-pipe. All stainless steel. That's way bigger than I thought it was gonna be. 55 millimeter in diameter piping, which is a little over 2 inches SAE. No hairy cardboard, no plastic, just car, unibody. Wow, that frame rail goes way back. Well, that's funny. That looks like a perfect mounting location for a center carrier bearing in case you wanted to route a drive shaft through here to make it all-wheel drive. How tight is it above the subframe? Wow. It's not tight at all. I bet you can even get the turbo out through the bottom. As far as the transmission goes on this Trax, comes standard with the Hydromatic 6T40, which is a traditional 6-speed automatic transmission that's been around now since 2008. And it has a maximum torque input rating of 375 Newton meters, which is 277 pound-feet. Super overkill for what this engine produces. Also has a final drive ratio of 3.53. Up front, the Trax utilizes a multi-link suspension setup with steel lower control arms. However, it does have aluminum knuckles. As far as the front anti-sway bar goes, it measures in at approximately, that's a lot bigger than I thought it was gonna be too, 28 millimeters in diameter. Steel front subframe, aluminum oil pan, interesting. The oil filter is right there. Look at this little hoof. There isn't even an under engine cover. There's no skid plates, nothing, because it's not even a crossover. This is a car with a lift kit. All right, time for the braking test. No one behind me. Ready? Go. Okay, wow. That was better than I thought it was gonna be. The pedal feedback was nice, it was firm, a little bit of ABS vibrations, but stopping distance, considering it's damp out, I would say it's average. That braking was just made possible thanks to a single piston floating caliper with a 300 millimeter or 11.8 inch rotor. That is a clean brake caliper too, might I add. Must be some low dust brake pads on this thing. The wheels on the 2RS model, it is a 19x8 wrapped in a surprisingly wide 245/45 19-inch Continental Pro Contact Texas tire. It's a Pro Contact TX. It's hard to see on camera, but they're painted metallic black with the machine face clear coated. Oddly enough, that is the headlight projector LED in the bumper cover, and this is a simulated little vent. It doesn't do anything. That is such a slippery inner fender well. It's all plastic. It's all texturized plastic down here in the side skirts. Nothing to get rock chipped. Nice smooth plastic again back here in the rear. Easy to keep clean. Out back, you have another single piston caliper with a 288 millimeter or 11.3 inch rotor, and the wheel and tire, same size as you have up front. In the name of science, I am now going to give this thing the beans. Bolstering assessment. No, it doesn't really have any bolstering. It's a good looking seat. It's got the little RS logo in it and some red piping, red stitching all throughout. These seats are also heated, and as far as drive modes go, well, nothing fancy for the automatic shift lever. It's kind of old school. It does have the RS logo on it though. While I don't have any flappy paddles, I do have the ability to do basic math problems on the side of the shift lever here, where you can select gears when you have it down into low. The steering wheel is also heated. I was not expecting that. We got some red stitching, nice little grips. Also flat bottom. I don't have any flappy paddles on the back of the steering wheel, but I do have buttons to control the radio. As far as traction control goes, there's actually a little tire that says TC on your infotainment screen, and that opens up another menu where you have choices between just traction control off or also traction and stability control off, which we will do. It's a little damp out this morning, so that should make things interesting. And give this thing some assistance and let it eat. Ready? Go! Wow! Oh, it chirped the tire a little bit. There was still some traction control after that though. Roar a little 3-cylinder. It sounds good. That's good. It's got a little spice to it, a little bit. The turbo starts to fall off in the upper RPM though. Ooh, robot noises. Yeah, that's a heavy hood. Oh, that is such a pretty color without clear coat on it. Underneath the hood of the 2025 Chevrolet Trax is the LIH Ecotech 1.2 liter turbocharged dual overhead cam 3-cylinder that produces 137 horsepower at 5,000 RPM and 162 pound-feet of torque from 2,500 to 4,000 RPM. Now, the funny thing about this engine is it was originally designed by Opel, which is part of the GM-Opel partnership in Europe. The car itself, well, it's built in Korea, which was part of the former Daewoo and Chevrolet partnership. The transmission, it's built in Mexico, and the name Trax is similar to Tracker, which was a vehicle built between GM and Suzuki, part of another former partnership, which means this is essentially a vehicle built by humans of the world with a bow tie on it. Is this oh, it's foam! Is it removable? I want to see what's underneath this. Will you come off? I think I gotta take the oil cap off. Yeah. Look at that. That's so crazy. Little foam guy. Because it's only 3 cylinders, but yet it's still dual overhead cam, the valve cover is literally almost a cube. Also new for 2024, this has a crankcase pressure sensor built into the PCV system. I think it's this little chamber back here. I really like this firewall insulation. It's kind of high quality. You see the ECU is mounted just above the passenger side motor mount. Digging in a little bit deeper on this 1199cc 3-cylinder, it is undersquared at a 75 by 90.5 millimeter bore and stroke with a 10.0 to 1 compression ratio. It has a forged steel crankshaft, powder metal rods, and cast aluminum pistons. Moving up into the cylinder head, the exhaust manifold is cast into the head itself, does have variable valve timing as well. Some pretty large ducting drawing cool air into the air box. It's an interesting looking little plastic piece right here on the charge pipe to the turbo. It is. It's an air-to-air intercooler up behind the bumper cover right here. Also, this is direct fuel injection only. I love that it uses the cap to hold the little foam engine cover on. That's clever design. Get it, you little raging 3-cylinder, get it! I personally love the sound of a 3-cylinder. It's neat. It's like a 6-cylinder, but spicier. They kind of remind me of the Detroit Diesel 6V92 or 6V53, that roaring 2-stroke diesel sound. Handling report of this high center of gravity little bubble of a car, and it is not, wait, I was expecting it to be, it's not a floaty sloppy mess. What? It actually handles surprisingly well considering what it is. I didn't think this was gonna handle decent. I mean, it does have good tires on here at 245 tread width. Man, what would this be like if you were to lower it and upgrade the suspension? Why? General Motors, why didn't you make this into a hot hatch instead of a grandma delivery vehicle? I mean, this thing does weigh over 3,000 pounds, and while the little raging 3-cylinder does put out quite a bit of torques for the size of the engine, it's a 3,000 pound vehicle still. This engine in something like the size of the old Spark would be a blast. It is comfortable even being on 19-inch wheels. And for not having any underbody hairy cardboard or sound deadening materials under there, it's not super loud inside the vehicle. I'm gonna put it into low and try my little buttons. Oh, it's quicker reacting than I thought it was going to be. And punch it. Roar. Will it go all the way up to red line? Or will it shift automatically for me? Oh, it does. It hits a hard rev limiter. It does not shift for you. I will give this thing one pro, is that it does have a lot of character to it. And to me, character is worth a lot in a vehicle. It could be character from being absolutely abysmal. That's still a type of character. Or it can be character from being fun and weird. And this is weird and fun in a different way. Pops the hatch. If you fold the seats down, there's quite a bit of space back here. Well, that smells weird. It smells like cinnamon Pop-Tarts in there. Oh, weird, the headrests flip backwards. I guess that's to help you see better. I honestly cannot remember the last time I've seen a door lock like this on a car. That is adorable. There, oddly enough, is no rear center armrest. Yeah. There, I got an armrest now. It's got a USB-C outlet. Because they designed this to only be front-wheel drive and not have an option for all-wheel drive, it means the floor is flat in the center like a minivan. That's the biggest floor mat I've ever seen in a backseat of a vehicle before. That thing's huge. The dome light looks like ski goggles. It's just like a bench. I feel like your butt would get tired sitting in this for a long ride. The carpet in this thing's actually pretty nice. It's fluffy. This one has a sunroof. And that's confusing. Oh, tilt and slide. Okay. The dash has got piano black and this red piping and an RS logo that no matter how I orient my camera, I can't seem to pick it up. Ah, there we go. RS. This vent is neat looking. It does have automatic headlights, but the button is integrated into the stock. Wireless charge cubby with USB and USB-C above it. Quick access buttons for the lane keep assist, as well as the auto stop start. Has an automatic climate control that thankfully has some physical knobs and buttons, so you don't have to go through the menu for it. Oh, that's sad. It's a little picture of a sedan. I remember when Chevy made those. Fairly large screens for your infotainment system, as well as the gauge cluster, and I do like the digital artwork that is in the menu. So if you hold this down, there's a little Easter egg built in where you can change your gauge cluster styling. Well, that one's strange. That one kind of looks like a turbo. There's also one for your vehicle info, infotainment, and clean. Oh, that's literally just your speed. That's it. That's a surprisingly decent stereo system. Wasn't expecting that either. So you tap on this little checklist on the side, brings you to some data for vehicle related stuff like your trip, miles per gallon, fuel economy, and then you can go to maintenance. Got your tire pressure, oil life, gauges. This car starts at $20,000, and this one is fairly loaded, as you see here, at about 26 grand. That's a cheap car in today's terms. And it doesn't feel abysmally cheap. It feels affordably cheap. The colors that this thing comes in are super fun. This nitro yellow, I'm a sucker for weird colors, and I just killed a chicken. It was a rock. It wasn't a chicken. My biggest complaint with the Trax, though, is why does everything have to be a crossover or SUV? GM no longer makes any small little hatchbacks. They don't make the Cruise. The only sedan they make is the Malibu still. I don't think people are not interested in cars, because if you look at Toyota and Honda and Mazda, they still sell quite a few of them. People are interested in good cars. And I feel GM is capable of making good cars, at least making cars that are likable. I personally liked the Spark and the Sonic and the Cruise. I thought they were great cars, but they killed them all off. The way they could drastically improve the Trax would be to shrink it down, make it a little bit smaller, make it a little bit lower to the ground, and make it into a car. As good as it is in this current state, it would only be better as a car or a hatchback especially. My other complaint is also with the infotainment system. While I do like the gauge cluster and the layout and the look of it, it's kind of a pain when you're syncing it with your phone, especially if you're trying to listen to music off your phone through Bluetooth. It just doesn't like to cooperate with my phone. Also, the fact that they have the Trailblazer and the Trax when they both pretty much serve the same purpose, it's just you can get the Trailblazer with all-wheel drive, is confusing, and I think they're redundant. Also, something I noticed, this handles worse at lower speeds than it does at higher speeds. It's a strange thing to have happen with a car, but it noticeably handled better the faster you went. The fuel economy is decent, however you can tell that this little engine is working hard to cart around 3,000 pounds. If they would make this car smaller and lighter, it would obviously have better fuel economy because that's physics. I don't know, I'm not that smart. It is now time to give this thing some scores. Starting with the bean score, the assessment of the feeling you get in your gut when you match your shirt perfectly to the car and the flowers near you. I nailed it on this one. And the Chevy Trax is getting a rating of, followed by the cookie score, the assessment of value. And this 2RS, fairly loaded as equipped at about $26,000, gets a rating of, followed by the wrench score, the assessment of ease of maintenance. And the Trax earns a rating of, followed by the squid score, the assessment of handling. And this little Trax managed to muster up a rating of. Lastly is the penguin score, the assessment on how much I personally like a vehicle. And the Trax gets a rating of, well, it is definitely ballooned in size over the little spark in Sonic. I feel there's a tiny bit of that essence still in this thing from that era, and I miss those little tiny hatchbacks, and I wish they would just shrink this down a tiny bit and lower it. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I'll see you soon with another. Bye!